Hey there, everybody from Bulldog Illustrated. My name's Clay Watkins, and welcome to the Dog Den. We're pleased to have Jack Poslesny with us today and to be able to interview him and ask him a few questions. So, Jack, welcome on. Thanks very much for coming.
Thanks for having me, Clay.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and dive right in. I think, today with Jack, he's got a really, really interesting story coming to the University of Georgia. Growing up, let's just go ahead and start from the beginning. So, you were a soccer player growing up.
I was.
So, it was, not a lot of football until later on, right?
Yeah, let's see, I started playing soccer when I was 3 years old. Just played throughout growing up, my younger ages, and then through high school. Football didn't start until 8th grade, really, where I had the option of, my mom was saying, you're either running cross country or you're going to go kick a football. And I chose the latter of the two because I didn't want to run that much. And kind of picked it up from there. Thought it was fun. Thought I was pretty good at it.
Yeah.
Going to freshman year, figured I'd stay with it. Why not? There's probably about 4 other kickers in front of me. Figured, stick it out, see how it goes. Hated it and decided not to play sophomore year and then just focus on soccer. I was like, you know what? I want to go to college for soccer. I want to be a college athlete, but I wanted to do it in soccer. I didn't want to do it in football. And then missed it so much that I came back junior year and kind of messed up my hip flexor, tore it a little bit, and was out the entire season. Still played soccer, I don't know why. And then came back senior year. So I'd say I really, truly only had 2 seasons of football, 8th grade and then senior year.
Yeah, I think it's certainly one of the more interesting stories because nowadays you see so many recruits, so many people continue to go to kicking camps from a young age and get recognized early on. I think a story like you, where you weren't into football until later on and then developed into it, is certainly an interesting story. I think one of the things that I want to dive right into is I think that. And from experiencing it when you were a senior, you have one of the most interesting recruiting processes I've ever seen. So go ahead and talk about your recruiting process and how it all began.
Yeah, just a little backstory on what people normally do, I'd say. From what I've seen, a lot of kickers nowadays, they start 6th, 7th grade, and they're going to these Coles camps, they're going to Chris Saylor, they're going all these big name camps, and all they're doing is probably playing football and maybe playing baseball. A lot of them are kind of switching over where I think it used to be that soccer style to now it's just straight football. And so I didn't have that experience, as we stated growing up. It was just soccer, and then I kicked the football because I was good at it. And so going into senior year, my Coach Hall, told me I was good enough to play at a D1 level and that I had the grades too. And I just didn't believe him. I was like, you're joking with me. There's just no way. And I didn't really have, the feeling, I didn't want to play college football.
Yeah.
It was just I'll go and I'll be a student somewhere. I wanted to experience the regular lifestyle. Right. I didn't want to be a student athlete like I was growing up. And so we get into our last game of my senior year, which I thought we were going to win.
Lee County game?
Lee County, Final Four. And we're up, I think, 38-7 at halftime or something big, and decide, you know what, we're gonna give up the game and lose.
Yeah.
I think we lose 50 to 45 or something nuts like that.
One of the craziest high school football games.
Yeah, definitely a wild game.
Okay.
I kicked off a lot that game, showed off that I had a pretty big leg, kicked a few field goals, proved that I was pretty good, and ends up being that the Michigan special teams coordinator, Chris Partridge, was at the game checking up on a recruit that was playing for Lee County. Saw that I could kick off and that I had some of the best hangs that he's ever seen on a high school kicker. And then next thing you know, I get a Twitter message from their kicking coach 2 days later when we were at a school dance or some school function. And I'm like, wait a second, this can't be true. And basically offering me a preferred walk-on to Michigan. And then Michigan was the first one to offer me a PWO spot. And then next, I believe it was Mercer. I was on my visit to Michigan in Ann Arbor in late January, and Mercer calls me up And I'm like sitting in the hotel, like getting ready to go to the Michigan campus. I'm like, who's this calling me from Macon, Georgia? So I answer it. It's their special teams coordinator, and he's like, Jack, we want to offer you a spot. And I'm like, my coach did tell me that once one offer came, like the rest would come.
Dominoes start falling.
Exactly, but I truly didn't believe him. And so Mercer offered me on the spot right there. And then after that, I believe it was Georgia Tech. And then from there, UNC came and visited me in school, which is probably like the coolest feeling ever. And they offered me a PWO, and Georgia calls me up probably late February, so like really late into the recruiting cycle. And I get a call from Glenn Schumann, who's still here. He's like, we want to offer you a spot on the team. And I'm like, wait a second, I'm already going to UGA, I'm going to be a regular student, I really want to play football. And so I decided, I'll take a visit, I'll see what it's like. And I loved it. But the question came down to was, one, do I want to be a college athlete or do I want to be a regular student? And then the next question was, do I go to UGA or do I go to Michigan? Because I absolutely loved Michigan.
Right.
And I was on spring break senior year in Belize. And I just had this fruition. I was like, why go to an out-of-state school where I'm going to have to pay $62,000 a year, where if I end up starting, my parents are going to have to fly up every weekend, which is going to be a buttload of money, where I can go to Georgia, I can be in-state, I can be close to home, and when I do end up starting, it's a 5-hour drive. So right then and there, I decided I was going to go to UGA, gave my parents the call, and they're like, are you sure? And I was like, I'm sure, and decided that, you know what, I'll go to UGA and play football.
Yeah, I mean, it's a phenomenal story, and I think that one of the more interesting things, too, is that you mentioned is that, Glenn Schumann is known as one of the best recruiters, one of the best coaches in football right now, and we're certainly glad to still have him here with us. But what was that conversation like with Glenn Schumann while you've been having, you said Georgia comes on maybe a little later this season as Michigan and UNC and some of these other bigger schools. What did that feel like when Glenn Schumann came and obviously you have the in-state factor being a large part of the decision, but what was something that he maybe said that was helped with the decision?
Well, I guess this helps a little funny story that I didn't mention right before. It was probably like late March, so like right before we were about to go on spring break. And as a senior, you have these different schedules than everyone else. You get like maybe take 2 classes and then you're off the rest of the day. Well, that was my case. I had classes from like 9 till 11 every day, and that was it. And so I'd go home before soccer practice. I'd go take a nap. I'd just go chill. And so this day in particular, I go home and I take a nap and I sleep for like 2 hours and I wake up to a phone call. And it's from my special teams coach at the high school, and he's like, "Where are you?" Like he's freaking out, like frantically. And I'm like, "What's wrong? Like why are you football season's over, who cares?" He goes, "Kirby Smart and Glenn Schumann are at the high school to see you right now." And I was like, "What?" And he goes, "Yes, they flew down. They went to Brunswick to go check up on Lauren McClendon, and then they decided to come over to Glenn Academy and see how you're doing." And I was like, "You're lying." So I get on my phone and check Snapchat from John Henry, our goalkeeper from high school. He's like videoing Coach Smart, like talking to our high school football coach, and he's like, "He's here to see you. Where the heck are you?" And at that point, it's like a 25-minute drive to the high school. And it's like my coach is like, "He's already been here a few minutes. Like, there's no reason to come over." And kind of to see that dedication of like, all I am is a PWO guy. Like, who cares about me? I'm this, it doesn't matter. But to see the dedication that they took out of their day to come and see me was pretty fascinating. So I'd say that was probably something that really showed off how good Glenn Schumann and Coach Smart are at what they do.
Right, and you always hear about, how elite recruiters those two are, and kind of seeing it in person has got to be a pretty surreal experience.
Most definitely.
So I want to talk to you about getting to Georgia. So fast forward, you get to Georgia, you have one of the greatest kickers to ever come through the university, if not the greatest kicker to ever come through the university, ahead of you.
Yeah.
So what is your thought process, your mindset coming in as a preferred walk-on with Rod sitting in front of you?
Right. I'd say, coming into UGA, it was really like I still had the mindset of like, I don't belong here. It's like why am I on the Georgia football team? Like, who picked me to be here? Like, it shouldn't be real. And so it truly was just the feeling of like, you know what? I'm going to UGA. My mindset is to make myself a better person, but on top of that, I'm just going to put UGA football on the resume. Like, I know that there's so many connections out there, obviously in the state of Georgia, but even outside the state of Georgia, where if they were to see that on my resume, that he played football or that he didn't even touch the field, but that it just was, I was on the roster for 4 years, would make a difference in hiring or getting a job.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was my mindset coming into it, was I don't care about touching the field. Like,
Right.
I'm going to put it on my resume. At the end of the day, it's going to help me in one way or the other. And as I started to kind of grow and see myself, I was like, you know what, like, this could end up being pretty cool. And I could end up coming out with a really cool story of playing one day. But I'd say like first year to 2 years, it was just like, you know what, I'm here to be here. I'm getting through the day. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know what, there's not much else.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly, you have to take an interesting mindset when, you know, knowing that, I mean, it was 2 years you sat behind, right?
Yeah. And I mean, the crazy thing is, it's like, it's not like I was sitting behind Rodrigo. I was sitting behind Rodrigo.
Right.
Then I was sitting behind Brooks Buse. Not only was I just sitting behind Brooks Buse, I was sitting behind Jake Camarda, who was the freaking punter. But then our coach was like, you know, he kicks too. So I was like 4th, 5th string. I mean,
Right.
You name it. Like, so I was like, that's why it was really hard coming in too. Of like, can I really see myself playing?
Right.
I'm like 5th
Exactly.
string. Like, so.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, so when you go and I know that you now have you and Rod are able to develop a close relationship.
Yeah.
How did that help when you talk about your growth, when you talk about maybe visualizing yourself playing more? What kind of impact did he have on y'all's relationship towards helping you attain your goal of playing?
I mean, Rod's impact truly was like amazing, and it still helps me to this day. I would just say that like seeing him come in and like work every day, like whether it was in the weight room or it was on the field,
Right.
there wasn't like he didn't take a day off. Like on Sundays, I mean, we have like a quick like 1 hour lift and then you're out of the facility.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't have to be there for long. But I mean, he's there for like 4 hours. He's like watching film or he's preparing for the upcoming week of like, what drills can I do? What can I do better? So it really helps the mindset of like, okay, I can be better. Like there's never like, you're never going to achieve perfection.
Right.
You may like come close, but you're never going to have it. There's always a next kick and there's always a way to improve. So I'd say, well, that's a key part to the mindset that he helped with, on top of just like my first year starting. I mean, you lack confidence and then you have high confidence. Like it's just like a roller coaster and there's no like really in between at all. And he would text me like before every game with scripture and kind of a little like saying that he had or what he gathered from the scripture and just wishing me good luck. So that was really encouraging because it's not what he had done in the past and what he was doing in the present to help me out.
Mm-hmm.
So he really set the standard for
Yeah.
how I could do better and how hopefully I could continue that legacy.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So, and I know too, you're a man of faith.
Mm-hmm.
How does that emphasize, or not emphasize necessarily, but how does that help you, you know, just like you said, relax before games? How do you utilize your faith when it comes to playing?
I definitely say it's, before it helps, just kind of calming the nerves, saying a quick little prayer, but it's truly after the game. It's no matter whether I miss a kick or I make a kick. I know that whether I show up to church the next morning or even right after the game, God sees me no different of how I was before.
Right.
Where you have all these freaking crazy fans that are heckling you if you missed a kick, or even the ones that are boosting you up after you make a kick. You just know that, like, who cares? It's an earthly thing, and that you're not trying to prove earthly things. You're trying to prove the man above.
Right.
So.
That's a great point. And so let's fast forward a little bit towards Rod leaves and you have the off season of now it's all right, have a shot to compete for the starting kick and roll. So Jared Zirkle comes in, highly recruited kicker, and a lot of people think that he's going to just get the job. Mm-hmm. And so talk me through kind of the competition, the off season, what that was like.
Yeah. So funny enough, That was 2019 going into 2020. We played in the Sugar Bowl for the second year in a row. That was fun. And we had gone home for Christmas break right before the Sugar Bowl, and I had made my mind up. You know what? This is it. I'm done. I'm quitting. I'd had enough. Football was just, it ended up piling up and getting too much for me. I had stress levels beyond what I could imagine, and I just was like, you know what? I don't think this is good for me to stay on the team. And 2020 comes around, and after the Sugar Bowl, I kind of go into a new mindset of like you came in 2018 and you remember like you were fifth string, like who cares? Like you were just like, I'm gonna do this, put this on the resume, like do it for yourself, don't do it for everyone around you. And I really think that was what changed my mindset and helped me go into a new year thinking I can do this, like I can win a job. And fast forward to March, I'm on spring break. We're all on spring break, and we get the email, and we're like, 2-week break, heck yeah, like we're getting off because of COVID. And we're like, what is this? Like, what's this virus? Like, this is make believe, all this stuff. And next thing you know, 2 weeks turns into a month, and a month turns into 3 months, and we're like, what am I gonna do with my time? So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna go home, hang out with the family, get the time that I want and that I think I deserve because I've been in football so much, and just work out. I mean, I was obsessed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I woke up in the morning, whenever I woke up, but mostly it's probably between 8 and 9. I'd go downstairs, eat breakfast, and then I'd go into our garage, and I'd probably work out from 9 to 11. Like, it wasn't just a simple, like, 1 hour workout, you're done. It's like, well, I have the entire day to work out. Like, I could do this all day if I wanted. So I kind of just grinded, like, kicking, all the fields were closed, so you really couldn't kick. And I didn't have any footballs because, as we remember, I grew up a soccer player. So like, why would I have footballs in the house? I had soccer balls in the house, so I'd kick that. Maybe go out out in the street and juggle a little bit. But no, going into like 2020 COVID, it like truly was, for so many people it was a terrible thing, but for me it was a blessing in disguise. I got to hang out with my family, which like I would have never gotten that time for any other reasons before. And it was like such a big blessing. And so I think just like being able to be surrounded by them showed me so much love that like whatever happens, you know, it's all gonna be good in the end. And then just to work out and like change my mindset really. It was like the working out really helps out of like I can grind, I can get better. And I probably kicked a football twice between March 18th till the call I got was like July 15th. Funny story, they actually called us back in waves. So they called like all the scholarship players back and all the enrolling freshmen. So like they called Zirkle back.
Yeah.
And they called our other kicker back, Brooks Buse, in the first wave. And then the second wave comes around and they call some of the walk-ons back. Well, I don't get that call to come back in the second wave. I get the third call and I'm like on vacation and I'm like negative mindset, like cussing out UGA football, but at the same time I'm so happy to be on vacation. And I'm like, well, how can I make this like an advantage of mine? Because they're all getting all these reps, they're getting to hang out with the team and stuff.
Right.
And so I kind of just come in with a different mindset of like, you know what, like I don't know anyone anything, like I just want to prove myself that I can do this. And coming into like the fall camp of 2020, that was the mindset I had, and I truly think that's what elevated like myself to perform at a level that I did.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think that it's such an interesting point with the fact that kicking, probably more so than any position, is so mental.
Yeah.
And you know, you look at a lot of D1 kickers, and they're able to, you know, a lot of them have incredible legs, they have great accuracy, but to be able to go out in front of 93,000 fans, to be able to kind of brush all the noise to a side and go out and make your kicks, I think that that's a very interesting approach that you have to take to kind of dial in, you know, that this is for me. This is for me. I've got 1,000 people that are going to scream at me whether I make or miss a kick, and to be able to go do that, yeah, that's a fascinating point.
Yeah.
So when was it that you learned you were going to be the starter?
It's crazy how UGA football does things sometimes. So like Zirkle and I get pulled into a room by Coach Cochran in like late July, early August. because the season that year didn't start till I think like late September, by like September 20th or something like that. Mm-hmm. And so I mean, we're going through like what's like fall camp, which is like a month long for this year because of COVID. But he's just like telling us, you know, reiterating we're performing well. It's still a battle. It's still a competition. And then fast forward to September like 18th, 2 days before the game. That Thursday, I just finished practice, and I'm like my travel bag is in front of my locker, and I'm like, so am I starting or I'm not starting? And like Zirkel's locker's like way over there, so I'm not gonna be like go peep around the corner like check it out. Are you going too? And so I'm just like, okay, like I'm traveling, he's probably traveling. I'm just gonna like take it one day at a time, like 1 hour at a time, really, because it's not much before the game. And so I get home and I'm just kind of like hanging out with my friends, like my roommates, and they're like, so like, you playing this weekend? You're not playing this weekend? And it's nice because like they're so removed from football that like football doesn't really matter to them. So thank goodness. And like honestly, I have no clue. It's like 9 o'clock that Thursday before the game against Arkansas, and I get a phone call from our special teams analyst at the time, Greg Meyer, and he's like, "Hey, what's up?" And I was like, "Not much, just hanging out at home. What's up with you? Like, why is he calling me?" And he goes, "You got your bags in front of your locker, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, why?" And he goes, "You're starting this Saturday. You're going to be kicking off and kicking field goals." And I was like, "What?" I said, "Can you repeat that, please?" And he repeated it, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And so, like, next thing I do is just call my mom up, and I'm like, "Yeah, so I'm playing this Saturday." And she's like, What? I've got to hop online and buy your dad a plane ticket now. And so, like, it just kind of, like fast forwarded, and I was just like, wait a second, is this all real? And kind of just had to, like, pinch myself. But that's how I found out. Like, it was just kind of, it wasn't a big deal or anything, but at the same time, it was, like, so nonchalant. Right. Wait, this, like, you don't, that's not how you do things, but that's how they did it.
You've been sitting behind for a few years now.
Yeah, exactly.
You have a shot, and then all of a sudden,
like, you're starting.
Yeah. So, all right, talk me through the celebrations and seeing your family after the game.
Yeah.
What that experience is like.
It was, I mean, unreal. As we were just talking before, like, you were saying that there's all these emotions kind of just like flooding through your head.
Yeah.
I definitely had those, but at the same time, it's like very different from like you who probably like was raised and like you grew up on red and blood, like red and black, like, you know, Georgia was it.
Right.
Me, I was just like literally strictly soccer and soccer only. Who cared about football? But like getting into the locker room, like seeing everyone just like so happy, like we'd done it in 41 years. Quavo was there, like, I mean, like what? Like, and so like we celebrated in the locker room and everything, but it truly was like, let's get back to the hotel and like celebrate with our families, like do whatever we want. And so we get back and my family's there, and knowing that like my parents are gonna be proud of me, like no matter what like happens, whether I make or miss a kick, but seeing just like the smile on their faces, like you've done it, like you've truly made it. And so I had my parents there, my sister there, my aunt, who obviously was like, I'm only coming to the national championship, and the national championship only when you make it, and had booked her ticket so far in advance. It was like March, like before the national championship, and had booked the hotel for everyone.
And this was March the year before.
Right. So like spring of the year after, like won the Peach Bowl, and then that March after she books like places in Indianapolis, like once we'd known that's where the national championship was going to be. And I was like, you're crazy, like you're nuts. So like she came, so she got like, we get 6 tickets. She came.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then
so that game though,
and,
I mean that's so obviously it's the start of the COVID season.
Yeah.
So your first game kicking.
My uncle's from
not only is it delayed,
came with his
playing in all SEC
schedules.
It's a shorter season, so it's starting later.
They drove all the way
from
Island
to Arkansas
to Indy,
and we're down 7-6 at halftime.
And
what is
accidentally
on top of that? I mean, probably more interesting for you. You got your kickoffs and you're kicking for the first time in front of limited capacity.
Right.
What was that like? You know, going ahead and and finally getting to kind of live that goal and
or
achieve that dream. And
they came $150
you look into the stands
got
and
to the
it's
shop,
not
got a rental car, and then drove the rest of the way to Indy. And like, that's just a perfect story.
Yeah.
And so,
soccer,
you're just running around all the time.
Right.
So like, your heart's ended up getting racing, but at the same time, it's kind of calm because you're not like pumped up, and then you're not pumped up, and you're pumped up, and pumped up.
Like second half,
so
$20,
kind of like going into pre-game,
and they got in.
What did you hear?
Like, and so they got to witness the second half of the national championship for $20, and I'm like,
that is unreal.
That is such
so
a
like
cool story.
knowing that like they cared that much
Yeah.
to make it all the way, and like I mean, give a freaking Uber Eats driver $150
Yeah.
in cash just so that you get here.
He was a great negotiator, by the
Yeah,
way.
exactly.
Bumped the price up.
Yeah. So it was really cool to see that like they cared that much to come to the game and support me.
Yeah. I mean, it was an unforgettable season.
Yeah.
Unforgettable, and every Georgia fan will always appreciate every step of the way. I think that we got a few more questions, but one thing I wanted to ask you about is I thought it was a little ridiculous that after the past 2 seasons, I mean, you've really been pretty much a model of consistency.
Yeah.
Around 82% both years.
Close to 80%.
And I think the biggest thing is you talk about that Cincinnati game, you're 3 for 3, hit the career long to win the game. Alabama, 2 for 2, hit the season long, biggest games you have. And so you weren't named first, second, or third team.
Yeah, or fourth.
Or fourth. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, all the other guys that they named are great kickers, obviously, and
Uh-huh.
it just comes down to, I guess, whoever makes the decisions. They decided, not to name me to that, and at the end of the day, it's just a name under first, second, third, or fourth team All SEC, and at the end of the day, I can just prove to myself, that I'm one of the best kickers in the nation, and that it doesn't matter what they decide. But it hurts a little bit. Obviously, it's like really like I've done this, and there's not that much respect on me anymore.
Right.
So, but it's truly motivation. It's motivation, and I've done well, but it's like motivation to do even better.
Right.
Like to prove I proved to myself already, but if I prove to myself, then who's next?
Right.
I want to prove to other people around me, which I think I have for some, but not for all, and that's what I want to do.
Well, maybe a way to do that is just go ahead and when the Luke grows up. I think that could be a solid way to go about it.
I think so.
All right, so talk to me about this season. Obviously, a lot of talk has been, we're losing 15 guys. Lose 15 guys in the draft.
15 great guys.
Yeah, like phenomenal guys. I know your buddy Jordan Davis is gone, and that there's a lot of question marks that people that don't follow the program very closely kind of go ahead and list.
Right.
So I thought Media Day was really interesting. I love the quote about y'all are the hunters, not the hunted.
Yeah.
What is the off-season approach? Like you said last season, the off-season approach really led you into the national championship season. What's that approach like this season?
Obviously, it's a little different with like so many new guys that were coming in, along with like the new roles that everyone's having to play.
Right.
Like Nolan Smith's like having to step up more as a leader.
Right.
Or there's some young guys like that are gonna have to step up into bigger roles that are gonna be starters this year that like maybe played a few downs here and there last year. So it's truly like getting to know your role on the team, but also like pushing others.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously we're still doing our skull sessions, which is helpful to getting to know each other, but at the same time, it's the emphasis on practice and workouts of like work harder. We don't have the team we had last year, but you can't compare year to year or else you're going to be looking in the past.
Exactly.
And you don't want to be stuck in the past. You want to be stuck in the present or looking towards the future.
Right.
Just to get better. I think there's going to be a lot of younger guys that play a role this year on the team that may not even know it yet. We're definitely going to have a different outlook on this year of like, you know what, like we obviously don't have some of the bigger guys up front that we did last year, but these guys probably have skills that the other guys didn't before.
Right.
So, and most of these guys have sat behind people like Jordan Davis. And there's no one better that you'd rather sit behind to learn from, to grow, and to be just like him.
Mm-hmm.
So I really think that that's a big thing.
Yeah, and I mean, you can look at it too, and the numbers can prove it, but I mean, you play football at the University of Georgia. You're a good player.
Yeah.
And so whether that's been sitting behind, whether that is, whatever next 4 or 5 star that can just come in and go ahead and earn a spot.
Right.
I think that, that next man up mentality has really embodied the program for a while. All right, well, we got a few entertaining questions for you, just to kind of go ahead and end things. But, all right, new uniforms this year.
Wow.
The blocks, the block numbers are back.
Yeah.
Are you a block number guy, or you like the older ones?
I don't really have a preference. I truly do think like the block numbers look slick. Like they're like pretty dope. But I didn't think like our old uniforms were like.
They weren't bad.
No, but I would love like Coach Smart to like enter some different colorways. I
Like
love
the black jerseys.
Yeah, I love the classical look.
I think we can speak to everybody saying that I think the fans would receive the black jerseys pretty well.
Well, and I love the silver breeches are amazing and all, but the silver doesn't go with much. So it's like, come on, let's throw in some white in there, even some red.
Were you a fan of the? I'm sure you saw the recruiting, the white,
they were
all
sick.
white,
Everything
pretty
was
clean
sick.
look.
I'm like, why are we just doing that recruiting? Why can't we do that for games?
I saw a quote from Kieras. I think it may have been on a Q&A on his Instagram story or something where someone was asking, like, are we gonna see those all whites on the field? And he's like, I think they probably ordered one helmet.
Probably, most definitely. You're looking around the locker room.
That was pretty funny. Yeah. So all right. So based on the uniform talk, go ahead and tell me, you're probably one of the few people that have come in years where you got to wear. I mean, people have worn the blacks before, but nobody in forever has been able to wear that throwback for Arkansas. I mean, that was pretty sick.
Yeah,
the red pants look good.
Yeah, I'm excited because like once we leave UGA, we get all the jerseys that we've worn.
Yeah.
So like I'll get that jersey and like I'm like pumped.
Yeah.
That's probably the coolest jersey I've ever worn.
I think so too.
Talking about jerseys in general, I had a jersey mishap, and not many people probably noticed because they always spell my last name like this. But they spelled for the Orange Bowl, they spelled it Podlesney, and it's just NY.
Right.
But like my parents didn't even notice it, and I told them about it, and they're like, "What?" Like it was just like crazy that like I don't know.
And that's the biggest game of your career up to that point. And
you misspelled the last name.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. What about go ahead and give me your. You've had a few nicknames.
Yeah.
So you've had Hot Pod, Podlesny.
Yeah.
I saw you captured Jack Frost.
I like the Jack Frost.
Is that your favorite?
Stuck very well, but Hot Pod stuck the most just because of Hot Rod.
Right.
And the transition to Hot Pod, it's so easy. Some people out there, like some people are so random. It's like tripod, and it's like
just keeps deviating a little bit more. That's pretty good. All right. So yeah. What about favorite team to play against?
Oh man, hopefully no one out there is going to be mad at me for saying this, but I'd say just from like the game and the atmosphere that this past season, if I had to transfer anywhere, it'd be to Tennessee. Tennessee had best, like not like best fans, but like they had the best show out, like the best crowd.
Definitely not the best fans.
Yeah. But it was just like amazing atmosphere to play in. Like there were so many people there.
Yeah.
And it was just, atmosphere was unreal. Favorite team to play though so far would have been, that's tough. I'd say Auburn because you never know what you're gonna get with Auburn.
Yeah, I think Auburn's one of those teams every year where
it's like
you said it right. I mean, it's like that. It's also Jordan Hare. There's no denying.
Oh my gosh,
it's loud.
It's one of the hardest stadiums to play in.
And then you look. I mean, they shouldn't have had a prayer against Alabama, and they're a split second away from winning that game. And that's certainly a team that. I mean, who knows what team you're getting?
For sure.
I hope that it continues to be the team that we keep playing.
Yeah.
Because we've had a pretty solid, knock on wood, but we've had a pretty solid record against them.
Yeah.
All right. So that probably the next one was favorite stadium to play in. It's not Stanford. Is that probably Jordan Hare or is that someone else?
Favorite stadium to play in has definitely been in Miami, the Orange Bowl.
Yeah.
That Hard Rock was just unbelievable. the atmosphere was cool and all, but like the way that the stadium was set up, just to like how nice of the area was.
That stadium, it's just a giant parking lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I mean, it kind of is like just comes out of the ground.
Yeah. That, and I'd say the Benz. Like the Benz is
it's
it's
pretty
beautiful.
unreal.
It's like you can't get it any better. So
all right, we'll leave you off with this one. Best UGA tradition.
oh man, that's tough. That's really tough. I'm a classic. Like I just love like the calling of the dogs.
Yeah.
Because like I remember like
Tough
freshman
to beat.
sophomore year, like when I wasn't dressing out and stuff, and I just got to see that like during halftime or whatever it may be. I was like, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Especially when they bring out like a UGA legend to like call the dogs. It's like wow.
Yeah.
Like, that's really cool.
It's tough to beat.
Yeah.
Well, dude, we appreciate you so much for doing this.
Thanks for
It's
having
been
me.
fun. Greatly appreciate it.
Of course.
All right. So, from the Dawg Den, it's Clay Watkins signing off. Thank you all for coming and experience this with us, and we'll continue more soon.